Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Planning Advisory Committee for the Town of Quispamsis, Tuesday, March 26th. With that being, we'll move on to item 2. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Mr. Bishop,
So moved.
can I have a seconder on that? Brenda?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Brenda. Can we please vote on that?
It's not coming up. So you'll have politician.
Oh, it should be up there now. Brenda? Yay. Thank you.
That motion's carried unanimously. With that being, we'll move on to item 3, disclosures of interest. None being, we'll move on to item 4, approval of previous minutes. Is there any adjustment to the minutes? Brent? Oh, 7A is going to be pulled until a later date. So you're okay, you're exempt there. Thanks, Brent, for that update. Item 4, approval of previous minutes. Any amendments to the minutes? None being, can I have a motion to approve, please? Mr. Preston.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Thank you. Seconder on that, Brenda?
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a vote, please. That motion's carried unanimously. With that being, move on to item 5, business arising from minutes. Can I have a motion to receive and file? Kendall,
I'll make that motion.
can I have a seconder on that, please?
Second, Mr. Chairman. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Goslin. Can we have a vote on that? That motion's carried unanimously. With that, we'll move on to item 6, unfinished business. None being, we'll move on to new business. Item 7A, 164 Millennium Drive. That item has been, oh, go ahead, Jennifer.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm just anxious to get started, I guess. I have nothing to offer.
Yeah, item 7A has been pulled until a later date by the applicant. With that being, we'll move on to item 7B, 178 and 182 Millennium Drive. Could the applicant please come up to the podium and state their name for the record, please? And Jennifer, can you introduce that item? Yeah. We'll get Jennifer to introduce the item. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the committee. Before you is an application for a development scheme review for comments from the PAC to support the development officer in the decision for the site plan. So the development will take place at 178, 182 Millennium Drive. The applicant has indicated that the lots will be consolidated, and 182 Millennium Drive will be the civic address once that occurs. So we are looking at a number of variances. We are looking at a height variance, a parking reduction variance, a variance to a side yard, a percentage variance for parking in a side yard, and also to allow parking within a front yard. So what is being proposed is a 4-story building constructed non-combustible. It will be completely sprinklered. It is proposed to be 17 meters high. Bylaw allows for 11 meters. The plans were sent to KV Fire and Police. Responses from both those departments were positive, and they had no concerns. The fire departments suggested that because of the nature of the construction being non-combustible and it being fully sprinklered, that they had no concerns in regards to the height variance. The site plan was submitted by Como Mackenzie Architecture on the 7th of March. We did provide comments to them. Just going through the staff report here to pick out anything that I can see as being pertinent to this evening's conversation. The PAC may want to investigate why there's a request for reduction in parking. But staff has noted the revisions that need to be made on the site plan, and you'll see that through the report. And feel that the building fits very well in the neighborhood, and are open to any questions or comments that PAC may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Could you please state your name for the record, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of committee. My name is Peter Mackenzie. I work for Como Mackenzie Architecture.
Mr. Mackenzie, you would have received the same package we did in the mail. Is there anything you'd like to add or discuss prior to members of PAC or members of the public asking you some questions?
I just wanted to go down through some of the minute items and offer up what the rationale was behind them, and then we can discuss from there. First of all, our interactions with planning staff was the usual, very cooperative and problem solving as opposed to problem seeking, and it was very good to be working with Jennifer once again on another exciting project for the town.
Can you lift that mic up a little bit? There we go. Thanks.
How's that?
Turn down my hearing aid.
Through all the report that planning staff has done, there will be a resubmission of the site plan, but in principle, we regard that the building itself is right where it ought to be in terms of the massing. It's turning its square face to the street as opposed to those the two residential ones that turn their narrow face to the street. So we'll be looking at that face, but it's significantly further back than the residential ones are. You know, the residential ones had a unit count to achieve, and they used up all their depth and then parked beside. And the approach we took is to set the building where we think it's going to have the most impact on the site in terms of not overpowering its neighbors, and then working the rest of the situations in around it. And
So is that it's going to rotate like almost 90 degrees? Or just rotate a little bit?
it's shown at a little bit of a skewed angle there just for visual interest, but there's a better representation there of how much further forward the residential buildings come. So we wanted to be further back to create a little bit of a forecourt type of feel to the building, and that seemed to work the best. In terms of the parking variance, we will likely provide a few more spaces in going through the detailed design phase. The main rationale between not quite as many parking spaces as bylaw were a couple of reasons. One is for the appointments that you have at that building, you can't drive home. So the presumption is you didn't drive there. You know, you will be, even if it wasn't quite your surgery day, you'll have the eye relaxants put in, and you're not, you know, really not, you'd have to do that kind of driving home trick that you do sometimes when you're younger. So we will likely have a few additional spaces worked into the deal, but that was the rationale that we had developed for the project. This, just by way of background, this is the second of this type of building that we have done. The first one was in Corner Brook, and the proponent of this project is the same fellow who was the doctor behind that one as well. So The Corner Brook one was a bit bigger. It was 12,500 square foot floor plate times 4 stories, so a bit bigger than this one. The remainder of the site towards the back there, for the first cut at the site plan, we took the approach of staying the full 30 meters away from the area that may end up being developed as being identified as a wetland. So that was another reason why we kind of located where we were, and we quit drawing parking spaces as we got close to that boundary. And as part of the investigation going forward, Andrew Toole of Donmore Surveys is going to be sort of fielding the environmental aspects of it in terms of what our approach is to that wetland, how it's managed. Is it in fact really a wetland still, or was it just created by neighborhood development? We understand that the Hazelton Street neighbors would prefer that as much of a buffer be left in place along that rear boundary, and which we are 100% in support of as well. So no real issues about the depth into the site. Beyond that, I think it's going to be a pivotal project for the town, for a professional center to be actual multi-story and to attract the type of tenants that it's going to, and the type of service that becomes available to our citizens right here in the village for having done this project. We're very much on a fast track. We're looking to sort of go through the permitting processes with the town and with the Department of Environment, and geophysical testing is already done, and with no big surprises there. We knew what we bought when we bought it. And so we will be proceeding through the permitting process immediately after the necessary approvals, with a view to being underway with construction well and truly this summer, and by probably closed in building by Remembrance Day or so. So it's going to be a bit of a foot race.
Thank you very much, Mr. McKenzie. Any questions for the applicant from members of PAC? Brenda?
Just a quick one. If parking becomes an issue, do you see where you could make more parking in that site?
Yes, we do. We have a significant amount of space behind the building there.
Okay,
Again, we took the kind of sort of very liberal approach, or very timid approach almost, of staying the full 30 meters away from the area identified on the provincial maps as wetland. So if we add additional spaces, it would be towards the rear of the building there.
I'm good with that as long as you can supply it if it's overcrowded.
Yeah, I think ultimately there is a retail component there. I mean, I spoke to the real economic driver of it, which is the surgery, but we'll be looking for ground floor retailers, and they'll want a few spaces for, you know, quick turnover type of purchases and whatnot. So we're in conversation with our client now about, you know, an additional, say, 10 to 15% onto the spaces shown.
Okay, and second and third floors are both going to professional offices?
Yes, the way the project developed out in Corner Brook is the surgery was developed first, and then the levels below it became these multi-dock, essentially walk-in clinics that you have a row of receptionists, a big pool of waiting, and then the 3 or 4 docs who run the place have access to you know, about a dozen exam rooms and whatnot, and they just sort of book them and go as needed. And so in the Corner Brook model, that happened on both the available floors, and then predictably the ground floor there became a coffee shop, dispensing optician, and a small drugstore. So we would envision that it would almost be an identical build-out. In fact, some discussions with those same chains are already underway.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. Any other members of PAC have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mark here.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I mean, on the plan that I'm looking at, I don't see any retention pond, so I'm assuming that the retention pond is not necessary on this development. Am I correct?
It may be necessary. We're not as far into it yet as making that determination. But that's another reason why we didn't sort of pack out the site with parking, that if a retention pond is necessary, then we will have room to create one.
I'm assuming it would be at the back of the development,
Yes, it would.
where the wetland is. Yeah, where the wetland is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for the applicant? Members of PAC? I have one. Is the construction a precast concrete panels, or do you know?
The construction that we have in mind is a concrete frame. So essentially a 25-foot by 25-foot structural grid of concrete, and with solid concrete floor slabs, and also a concrete roof slab.
So it's poured in place type of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it would be
okay.
cast in place concrete. And then the wall systems within that would be a metal stud, wind stud system with the amounts of glass as shown, and then with the claddings that are essentially supported on the metal stud system. It would be a 100% non-combustible build, which is a part of the code that we have to meet for building an outright registered healthcare center in it. And the other good reason for concrete is that the healthcare occupancy on the top floor requires a 2-hour fire separation from all other occupancies. And the best way to get that is just a big concrete slab. Otherwise, you're building up layer after layer of drywall and ceiling penetrations and other such tedious tasks just to get it to work. So,
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from PAC members? Is there anyone online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? Is there anyone online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? Third and final time, is there anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? None being, would a member of PAC like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions, please? Mr. Bishop.
I'll put a motion forward that PAC support the development officer in approving the project with the following variances. One, a 7-meter variance to section 12E1 zoning bylaw number 038. Number two, a variance in section 6P2A1 of the same bylaw to permit reduction of required parking by 20 stalls, 17 meter. Three, a variance of section 6J1 zoning bylaw number 038 to permit the reduction in required side yard setback to residential use. Four, variance to section 7(1) of Millennium Drive Development Scheme by bylaw number 017 to permit the front yard setback of 28.7, so 28.7 meters. 7-meter variance to the 10th meter parking setback to residential use and to permit parking within a front yard. 5, a 4% variance to section 7A IV of Millennium Scheme bylaw number 017 to allow the increase of permitted parking in side yard. Along with that, again, additional, any other notes, I guess, from PAC members? I don't know if we need to list the rest of the 5 items or not.
I believe they're the routine items. Is that correct, Jennifer?
Some of them are specific to the development.
Okay.
Okay, we'll read them.
Yep. In addition to the noted variances, PAC supports the development officer in supporting the approval for the development of a 4-story eye clinic with professional offices and retail space at 182 Millennium Drive, PID 303-36473 and 303-19198, giving consideration to the following terms and conditions. 1, a submission of revised site plan, including all requirements identified in the staff memo to the Planning Advisory Committee. 2, a stormwater management plan to be submitted to the town's engineering department for acceptance and approval, ensuring water is collected and removed from the subject lot without impacting neighboring properties, with enough capacity to capacity provided in the system to meet the demands of a 1 in 100 year storm plus 20%. 3, sidewalk or pathway be extended from the building to the front lot to tie into the town's future active transportation corridor along Millennium Drive. 4, the installation of fence 2 meters in height, setback 60 centimeters from the sideline, abutting the residential use at civic address 190 Millennium Drive. Full length of the apartment complex. 5, buffer abutting the residential properties along the northwestern property line be enhanced to provide visual screening. Any trees located in the buffer zone that are impacted by the development and have to be removed are replaced by the landowner at their expense. Yeah. 6, the applicant is granted the well-fill exemption by the Department of Environment and Local Governments prior to the issuance of the development or building permit to the lot. 7, wet course and wetland alteration permit is received from the Department of Environment and Local Governments prior to the issuance of a development and/or building permit. 8, a development permit is issued prior to any site work on the subject lot. 9, a building permit is issued prior to construction of the building. 10, no other structures or signs are permitted on the site without first obtaining a permit from the town. And 11, the applicant enters into a development agreement with the town of Quispamsis.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Can I have a seconder on that? Brenda?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I just wanted to make a note that I noticed that there was a little misunderstanding in one of the motions, number 2. So that 17 should be a 7-meter height variance. So I'm very sorry for the confusion on that, but that's what that should read.
What item was that?
Number 2 on the first.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, okay. Brent, any questions or?
Questions for staff regarding item number 4, installation of fence. I'm assuming that fence is supposed to be a privacy fence for the apartment. Right now it just says fence, so is it supposed to be a buffer between the apartment and the building?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it was opaque should have been in that statement. So
Okay.
it's to be a 2-meter opaque fence. It's to block the light from the cars driving into the parking lot from those that
Okay.
live in the apartment.
Yeah, I just didn't want,
What number is that?
number 4 in the second set. Yeah.
Just say installation of opaque fence. Any other questions? Can we vote on that then, please? That motion's been carried unanimously. Mr. McKenzie, please work with the town to have all necessary documentation in place. And should have a letter in the mail next 5 to 7 business days. And I think you gotta resubmit a site plan and some other work you gotta do. So best of luck. And I hope the development moves forward because it looks like a nice building to fit in with the town in that area.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We'll move on to item 7C. Item 7C has been removed from the agenda on the request of the applicant. With that being, we'll move on to item 8. Information items and discussion items for council minutes. Can I have a motion to receive and file, please? Or is there any questions on the minutes first? None being, can I have a motion to receive and file? Brent, seconder on that? Kendall seconds that. Thank you, Kendall. Can we have a vote on that, please? That motion's carried unanimously. With that being, we'll move on to item 9, adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Bishop,
So moved.
can I have a seconder on that, please? Brenda,
I'll second that.
thank you. The meeting has been adjourned. We'll see you on April the 8th? 9th, sorry, April 9th. See you later, Mr. Goslin.